Good morning. Today is the 28th of February. Usually it's the last day of the year, but we have a leap year, so it's penultimate last day of, last day of the month even, not the year. We still have one extra day in February, so that's a day to make things count. Looking at today's news, we had lots of news at 8:30, and we've got a bit more news coming in at 10:30, oil, and then we've got some Fed speaking today, so be wary of them, 12, 12:15 and 12:45. Okay, so now looking at the charts, let's get some levels for today. So on my screen is the ES or the MES, both are the same, and just quickly looking at the daily, just to take a look at the volume over the last few days, and you can see we've had decline in volume. Oh, it's a bit big. So we've had decline in volume, and with kind of like on the pullback as well. So we've kind of been declining. We had decline in volume on this push up as well. Let's just level these up. High volume and then declining. So there was an anomaly last week for this candle. So we had the same amount of volume. Let's just draw the lines in. So we've got this candle here. So we've got that candle there. It's the same amount of volume than the previous day's candle, which was half the size. And so that was an anomaly, and we've had a little bit of a pullback since then as well. Decrease in volume, kind of what you expect on a pullback, and it kind of looks a bit like a bear flag is setting, a bull flag is setting up. So potentially we could look for the break above yesterday's high for a little bull flag. If we go into the hourly, it's a lot clearer. So this is the flag we've been looking at between those two ranges, and so the level I'm really watching for is a pullback to this pivot. You can see yesterday we had that pivot, which was, we had a line set there, and it came in and touched it exactly. So great, perfect pullback. Touched the bottom of that channel as well, roughly, and I didn't take that. I was trying to go long. I was trying to catch that double bottom there, and then by the time I realised I missed the trade, I was kind of around about the time I left dinner with my family anyway. I was short as well, and down. In fact, I was long afterwards. That was revenge trading, but I was short into this double bottom, and I let it run because I wanted to get down into this zone, and I didn't take profit, and it came back and took a little bit of profit, but came back to stop me out of break even, and my break even was on the rebound. I was a bit annoyed, and I think that's why I kind of revenge traded afterwards by trying to go long, and I didn't handle that very well. I was just scalping it. But anyway, today I'm gonna stick to my levels because the levels work. You can see that worked perfectly yesterday. Just needed patience. And we've got this level up here we're watching as well, and the rejection off of there. I know it's pre-market or post-market, and that also worked pretty well. So stick to the levels, because the levels are what makes the green days. So kind of got this downward channel set up, this one here, this line here. So what I'm looking for is for a potential long around that area, top of this pivot as well, and that's around 50.50 to 50.60, and it also coincides with this trend line. If I go back goes back a long way, it goes all the way back to October last year, and we linked the first two together, and we kind of see that it's been, we linked that one to that pivot, we tested it there, tried to break it, and then we defended that area, and we're coming back into it again potentially. So I quite like the bounce around that area, just taking the previous history into account. Let's get back in. So we've got two areas to watch: 50-60 area, 50-50, 50-60 for a bounce, and that's the bottom of this trend line. So if we can get back, if we can pull back down to here, so we've got two trend lines intercepting each other. So that's the area I want to go long. Also happens to be this area here, this head and shoulders pattern, and a bit of extra volumes in that area as well. So all of that lines up for what I hope will be a decent bounce. I'll play it. And one last thing, we've also got the rise in this purple line. It's a rise in 200 moving average, and that's right at that point as well. So this is a key area, really, this area here. So let's box that in. So this is the area I'm watching for a bounce today. Prime area, that's my A+ area, hopefully. If we do get down to that area, then I'll be looking to take an initial entry on the trend line or bottom of this red demand zone, which is the pivot, this pivot, and then I'll be looking for an add as well. So either if we come back and make a double bottom, or if we push up, I'll be looking for a small pullback. If we do push up into momentum, then I'll probably just want to get an add if I see a lot of volume as it pushes up. So I will be in profit for the adds, not when my account is in the red. So that's the key area I'm watching, 50.60 to 50.70 for a bounce. 50.50 I meant to 50.60 for a bounce, that area. I'll use order flow. Just flick to my order flow screen. So the hourly levels I'll be watching for is 50.60, it's the main area. I may consider down to 50.50, be looking for a bounce in that area. And that area we just talked about where we said saw the 2 points of controls on the 30-minute 50-65 is actually probably, is it that area there? Yeah, we're kind of just a little bit above. So kind of got yesterday's low, so, but I won't be using that as a bounce. I could use it as a very high risk bounce in that area, but I really want it to come back down to here. We need to break this pivot, and breaking that pivot will hopefully continue this downward trend, and we'll be looking for a decent bounce. If we break the top of this trend line, which is the bear flag and the bull flag, I'm going to be looking for a break and retest to continue the trend up. So I'm watching 50-90 area, 50-91, 50-90, happens to be the pre-market high, also yesterday's high, so that's the area I'm watching for a break above. And again, I want to see a break, prefer to see a break and retest, because I don't want to get into it if it's just a fake breakout and then it comes back down. And retest was a higher probability. So then the real 2 areas I'm watching, I'm probably only watching those 2 areas. So this demand zone down here, which we kind of tested this morning for a bounce, and the pre-market high, yesterday's high, for a break and retest. If we see continued, if we don't see any follow through or the break and retest doesn't work, I may look for a higher risk rejection up in that area as well. So I'll be looking for a potential rejection around 50-90 as well, but that's a higher risk. I'm still want to go with the daily plan, the daily trend, and you can see that's a very strong uptrend, and there's no reason to want to even look for major shorts unless we break down below this trend line, come back up and retest it to confirm it in a downtrend. So we're in an uptrend, we're just on a little bit of a pullback, and that's why I quite like the break of this flag to make another push up to the top of this trend, to the channel I'm in. Okay, that's it really for MES or ES. So that's what I'm watching. SPY, very similar. That's got a better, in fact you can see we've got a better trend line. Pivot, pivot, pivot. So again, a break and retest of this area, or potentially a bounce. And I prefer this area as well to MES because we've got a double top. Whereas MES we had a slightly higher top there and a lower top there. So a bounce at 503.30 area, 503 to 504, that area for a bounce. And then if you were to clone this trend line, I'm sure it will exactly match that. In fact, let's just move it up a bit. There you go. So I always like to just go back a few candles. You can see the tops of those candles. You can see where the channel flipped. So it kind of was the ceiling. Now it's become the floor. The floor. And hang on, I didn't clone it. Did I? Just moved it. Just put the other one back. It's about there, wasn't it? Let's get rid of the joins. So, and again, we're kind of watching for the bounce down here. It happens to be in the same areas, 503.30, 503, happens to be this channel as well, which we've drawn in. So this is a key area to watch on SPY. Quick look at SPX. Yeah. Key areas is this pivot, this first pivot at 50.46, 50.45 area for a bounce. So keep an eye on that. If I'm going to go long, then I want to see SPX going long also at the same time. So hopefully it's come down and we see it bouncing up. Because I don't want to go long on SPY or MES, and to see MES is still trying to find its way back down to this key level. Because then we kind of we're going upstream really, trading against the SPX trend. So what I mean is, if we're down here, I'm just going to have a quick peek at SPX to hopefully also be down at the key level. For example, if SPX breaks down below that area and we're trying to go long on MES or ES or SPY, then SPX is obviously going to come back up into resistance, and so the ES or the SPY trade may not work. So keep an eye on SPX for a possible, to continue to confirm the trend we're getting into, the direction we want to go. So look at MNQ or NQ next. Yeah, I don't like that very much. It's kind of a flag. You could even call it a wedge. It's got to get above these levels really. Pre-market high. Yesterday's high. Get above here to consider a break and retest long. So the key area 18,000, that's a psychological number as well. So we've got to get above 18,000 before we consider a long or break and retest that area. Or if we break the floor, this area, we kind of tested it a few times. Once there, we're back here again as well. We've got to break down, but we'll be coming into this 200 moving average. So I'm not a big fan of the chart. We can probably watch for a double bottom here or a break and retest pre-market low, knowing that 17,850 is a potential 200. Although it's a sideways 200, it doesn't have as much weighting as if it was going up or down. Let's look at Qs next. Yeah, it's the same. Exactly the same really. I think if you can break over yesterday's high, you can probably, don't need these trend lines here now, you can probably look for a break and retest long. Target 1 can be 440. Below here, I don't like the short below because we've got the 200 and this is not sideways unlike NQ. But you can watch for a bounce maybe 433 at the gap. Yeah, so 433 bounce is probably the only place I'd consider long, and that's going with the trend as well. Let's clear that. Crude oil, hey, look at that, we've got a breakout. So we've finally broken this pivot here, and this pivot here. So significant area to break, so we can now wait for the pullback into this area for a long. We talked about this for a while. So 79 bounce is what I like. That's the only trade I can see. Let's just zoom out a bit, see if we've got anything higher to watch for. Oh yeah, we've got this potential supply area above at 79.50, so you can get 50 cents. Maybe use that as a target for the long. And then the real area is probably around mark that in, so that's the pivot. What I'm looking at is tops of that pivot, bottoms, kind of the bottoms there as well. So it's 82.30. So yeah, we need it to pull back. Doesn't look like much space, but this doesn't move much in a day. So if it pulls back down into this area, 78.90, then we can look for a long entry to continue to trend up to 79.50 and maybe 80. That's all I'm considering at the moment. Gold, it's not made the breakout we want. We're still watching this potential curving over like we talked about, although we have put in a higher low there. So we've got to get above this 2047 and 2053 for to continue the trend up, sideways, up a bit, sideways, up. That's what we're looking for. Rejection wise, same area, 2053 for rejection, and a bounce if we can get back down into this point of control area. This area here actually, which is 2033 for a potential bounce. So we've got to get out of this little channel here. We've been going through it for the last few days. That's it really, and if we bounce down here, then potentially that's the curving back up, 200 moving average. RTY, which is the Russell 2000. Held the 50. pre-market low. Okay, see if we can break above yesterday's low, we can look for a break and retest long, because we are kind of in an uptrend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and target can be yesterday's high, which is at 2062, 2060 area, and then with another target. This is most likely the all-time highs, I believe. Oh no, it's not all-time highs, but we've got that high, that double top from 16th of February. Get rid of. And then bounces. Yeah, down here. Probably where that point of control is now, I zoomed out. Which will bounce at 2020. And what I'm looking for is areas of confluence. So basically, just going back, look for the previous pivot, that one there. We could even look at 2010 as well. We've got tops of candles, tops of candles, tops of candles, and then bottoms, bottoms and tops, bottoms and tops there, kind of. And you can see there's a high amount of volume in that area as well. So all of that works. I prefer that area a bit more than this little bit below, but 2010 is another area in which we'll bounce. And then the YM, which is the Dow Jones. You can clearly see this hourly downtrend. Excuse me. Got this left shoulder. Let's put my pen in. Got this left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Kind of break and retest of the neckline. So that's a great short off the 50 as well. And putting in a higher, a lower high, a lower low. We're coming back into this point here. Are we gonna reject this 20 moving average again? We have done previously there, and we've got a 50 as well. So if I wanted to find a short, it's going to be at yesterday's, this area here, yesterday's high, pre-market high, 3900 for a rejection, and the 50 moving average would come down to that area and probably meet in the same place. Otherwise, for a bounce, this 200 is a key area as well. If we break below and close below it today, we can see some continued selling off. The only place I can see is this point of control, this line down here, 38,700. Bit of confluence, tops there, bottoms there, tops of candles there. So it's not a great area for a bounce, but I'll mark it up anyway. May not get there today, it's a long way to go. Okay, and then obviously, look at that, Bitcoin, it's just on fire. We've broken through that target we talked about yesterday, 59,000, 58,000. We're at 60, almost 61,000. So what is it on the weekly? Look at that. Just note though, we've got this big wide range candle, and we've not got the big volume, but we're only 3 days into the week, so keep an eye on that. You would expect to see a lot more volume coming, considering if you compare that to last week's candle, little tiny narrow range candle, and we're about the same amount of volume. So bear that in mind. So if you're long, then it might be worth looking to take some profit. Probably 64,000. What is the 64,000 question? And that is, where is Bitcoin going to end up? Hard to tell. I'll say 62. Use that area there. So top of pivot there, bottom of candle there, kind of in the middle. Let's use the body. 63,000. We use the body as a candle for a potential target. And then a bounce area. It's got to be back down in First bounce area is that area there. Yeah, around this area as well. So 44, 4400, 48, 49, 50 area, and obviously we've got the 62, 63 area, and we've got all-time highs, 69,000. Are we going to break it? Looking strong at the moment. Let's see. Okay, that's it really. Just recap today's actual plan, which I'll be watching for. My A+ setups today are the bounce down at 50-60. I'll consider down to 50-50, which is kind of the tops of these candles here. But I will look for a bounce in this green demand zone anywhere around here. So potentially pre-market low as well, 50, whatever that is, 50-63 to 50-60 for a bounce. And obviously we've got two intercepting trend lines here as well. So we've got the big one going back from October 2023, and we've got the short bear flag. So it's kind of where I'm looking for a bounce, and wherever we might be, we may be just coming onto this trend line when we get down there next. Also looking for a break and retest to continue trend, but I want to see it break this trend line. So I'll be looking for a break and retest over this trend line. Could even be around the yesterday's high, pre-market high of 50-90, but probably be a bit less than that, 50-80, because this trend line depends on how we open today. So they're the two areas I'm watching for today, both long ideas. A high risk rejection can also be at this pivot from yesterday as well, 50-90. So that's a high risk rejection. Again, if you reject up here, you're above this trend. So it could be just part of a pullback into that area. And that's it. One more thing I want to look at. This wasn't me. One of the guys I saw on YouTube yesterday put out the monthly chart, and look at that trend line. Goes back to 2001, and we just joined those two pivots together. December 21 was that COVID year, and then we're coming right up to it, so we could potentially be heading into major support right now, as you can see there, and you go all the way back to 2001. So it's a big trend line. So maybe institutes are watching this. Maybe we know where the smart money might be doing next. So just food for thought. Okay, thank you for watching, and trade safe and keep your risk small. Okay, thank you for watching.